right, there we go. And here we go. The Erikson Reader. We're reading from that this week. We're talking about virtue, insights and responsibilities, and we're going to continue. Like I said, Erikson was one of my favorites in college when I was studying psychology, trying to move on to get my master's, but ran out of purpose, ran out of funds. So when it comes to naming the basic virtues with which human beings steer themselves and others through life, one is at first tempted to make up new words out of the Latin roots. Latin always suggests expertness and explicitness, while everyday words have countless connotations. To optimists, they make virtue sound like gay and easy accomplishments, and to pessimists like idealistic pretenses. Yet when we approach phenomena closer to the ego, the everyday words of living languages ripened in the usage of generations will serve best as a basis of discourse. I will therefore speak and hope, will, purpose, and competence as the rudiments of virtue delivered in childhood, of fidelity as the adolescent's virtue, and of love, care, and wisdom as the central virtues of adulthood. In all their seeming discontinuity, these qualities depend on each other. Will cannot be trained until hope is secure, nor can love become reciprocal until fidelity has proven reliable. Also, each virtue and its place in the schedule of all virtues is vitality interrelated to other segments of human development, such as the stages of psychosexuality, which are so thoroughly explored in the whole of psychoanalytic literature. The psychosocial crisis and the step of cognitive maturation, these schedules I must take for granted, and I restrict myself to a parallel timetable of the involving virtues. And I like, he's dealing with each phase of our, humanity of our lives. And there's a childhood phase that you grow, an adolescent phase that you go through, and an adult phase. And then there's an elder phase. A bunch of phases. And if you don't come through one of those phases correctly, you can end up lacking in certain things until you go back and go through that phase properly. And it was studying this that I really realized that Black people were completely out of our minds because we didn't go through none of those phases properly. I know Black children that never got to be children at all. If we ascribe to the healthy infant the rudiments of hope, it would indeed be hard to specify the criteria for this state, and harder to measure it. Yet he who has seen a hopeless child knows what is not there. Hope is both the earliest and most indispensable virtue inherent in the state of being alive. Others have called this the deepest quality, confidence. And I have referred to trust as the earliest positive psychosexual attitude. But if life is to be sustained, hope must remain. Even where confidence is wounded, trust impaired. Clinicians know that an adult who has lost all hope regresses into as lifeless a state as a living organism can sustain. But there is something in the anatomy even of mature hope which suggests that it is the most childlike of all ego qualities, and the most dependent for its verification on the charity of faith. Thus, religious sentiment induces adults to restore their hopefulness in periodic petitionary prayer, assuming a measure of childlikeness toward unseen, omnipotent powers. Nothing in human life, however, is secured in its origin unless it is verified in the intimate meeting of partners in favorable social settings. The infant smile ensures hope in the adult, and in making him smile, makes him wish to give hope. But this is, of course, only one physio, physion, physiognomic detail, which indicates that the infant, by his trustful search for experience and assurance, awakens in the river a strength which he in turn is ready and needful to have awakened and have consolidated by the experience of mutuality. I mean, there's a lot of people in this society with no hope. I would say I don't really have hope, but I know that certain things are going to happen just based on science and understanding and knowledge itself. Like, I know just by what's happening, climate change is going to keep wrecking things and breaking us down. I don't know what decisions we're going to make at that point, but I know it's going to break down a lot of the physical infrastructure, which again is going to break down some of our social infrastructure, because people are very dependent on the physical things. And once that breaks down, let the electricity go off for a day or two. Hope is verified by a combination of experiences. In the individual's prehistoric era, the time before speech and verbal memory, both psychoanalysis and genetic psychology consider central in that period of growth the secure appreciation of an object. The psychologists mean by this the ability to perceive the enduring quality of the thing, world, while psychoanalysts speak loosely of a first love object, i.e., the experience of the caretaking person as a coherent being who reciprocates one's physical and emotional needs in expectable ways, and therefore deserves to be endowed with trust, and whose face is recognized as it recognizes. These two kinds of object are the first knowledge and the first verification, and thus the basis of hope. Hope, once established as a basic quality of experience, remains independent of verifiability of hopes, for it is in the nature of man's maturation that concrete hopes will, at a time when a hoped for event or state comes to pass, prove to have been quietly superseded by a more advanced set of hopes. The gradual widening of the infant's horizon of active experience provides, at each step, verification so rewarding that they inspire new hopefulness. At the same time, the infant develops a greater capacity for renunciation, together with the ability to transfer disappointment, hopes to better prospects, and he learns to dream what is imaginable and to train his expectations on what promises to prove possible. All in all, then, maturation or maturing hope not only maintains itself in the face of change facts, it proves itself able to change facts even as faith is said to move mountains. From an evolutionary point of view, it seems that hope must help man to approximate a measure of that rootedness possessed by the animal world, in which instinctive equipment and environment, beginning with the maternal response, verify each other unless catastrophe overtakes the individual or the species. To the human infant, his mother is nature. She must be the original verification, which later will come from other and wider segments of reality. All the self-verifications therefore begin in that inner light and of the mother-child world, which Madonna images have conveyed as so exclusive and so secure, and indeed, such light must continue to shine through the chaos of many cries, maturational and accidental. Mothers are everything to babies. Mothers and fathers were mothers. And I know for a fact that my community, my generation, there were some good mothers, but then there were mothers that didn't know what to do with us. All right. Didn't know how to handle us, or was with us and then went back to work. Right. And we were just basically running wild. I hate to say it that way because it sounds like it's a racist thing, but we were running wild. And there's white children right now running wild, so it's not really a race thing. And I will say, in my childhood, from 0 to 7, 8 was fine. Once I turned 11, 12 years old and moved into the projects, my adolescent years, the whole world was trying to destroy us, and there was nothing on the other side trying to slow that. The systems that were destroying us down, there was no plan for us. There was nothing other than just finish school. And the very school was destroying us. So, I grew up in the 1980s. I was an adolescent. And if you grew up at that time, you know, as a black person, you already know it was grinding. And I would say people are still going through that. And I didn't know it in the 80s. I'm pretty sure there were poor white people somewhere in the society going through the same thing. So we can expand it to go that. But I know for myself what we were going through. And so, yeah, that was it. And we didn't come out of adolescence properly. We didn't come out of childhood properly. Childhood, I would say I did. But by the time I got to the project, from the way those children were attacking me and the violence that they had, which I've talked about on this channel, I think I did a video called Creating Violence. I can tell that they hadn't gotten through their childhood properly. And they didn't get through their adolescence properly because I didn't get through my adolescence properly. Then young adulthood was extreme because then I was going to college. Once I survived the law enforcement, the systemic destruction of us that swept through the projects in the inner cities. And once almost a lot of people were dead or in prison, and we survived it and was able to go back to high school, get my diploma, go to college and things like that. Once that happened, then when I went to college, I was so extreme because I had seen what happened. So everything I was going to do was going to be for, how do I fight this system? How do I function it? And how do I try to provide a buffer between it and my little brothers, my little sister, and my nephews, and now I tried, it didn't work, because at the time when I was in college in the 90s, the black community was deciding cash rules everything around me. We don't care about nothing else. We don't care about community. We don't care about concepts. We don't care about nothing. How do we get paid? So I came out with this kind of consciousness of community, concepts, understanding things, understanding history, our time and our space, where we are, understanding systemic and institutional power, and black people are like, I need money. Even today, I need money. Are you having a problem? I got some money for you. Or I need money. So it's money. Everything's money, money, money. There's no concept, no or very little concept, very little principles, very little anything else. So sometimes when you see me say my life was a waste, that's what I'm talking about, because everything became about money, and my learning and my experience was taking me in another direction. which is to this day just about ignored. I don't fight. I don't argue. I don't use my channel for that. I use it for this and look at my views. And that'll tell you everything you need to know. Until next time, please take care of yourselves. And if you want to support me, the links are below. You can give directly. I appreciate anything you give. And until next time, take care and be safe.